Welcome back. United States President Donald Trump's address to the UNGA, marking its 80th anniversary, has ignited a fierce debate with a bold America First stance. In a 40-minute speech marred by technical glitches like a stalled escalator and teleprompter issues, Trump blasted the UN as ineffective, touted U.S. economic and military wins, and also issued stark warnings on migration, climate policies and global conflicts. He called open borders an invasion, slammed renewable energy as a scam, and urged nations to buy American fossil fuels. Donald Trump also accused China and India of fueling Russia's war in Ukraine, demanded Gaza hostage releases, and warned Iran on nuclear ambitions. He also announced a US-led AI task force for global security. Reactions split sharply on his speech. Supporters praised him, while critics, including UN Chief Guterres, described the speech as divisive. As protests flared outside, Trump's words left the world stage tense. Let's in fact give you some more details now about the speech made by Donald Trump and in fact what he said to the global audience. These were some of the takeaways of what President Trump has said. America is in its golden age. He claimed the US has reversed economic calamity it had suffered under the previous administration. This is something that he claimed on the occasion. He also credited himself for ending the India-Pakistan conflict. Trump tried to take credit once again for ending a number of wars, including the India-Pak conflict. Meanwhile, tariffs on Russia slammed India and China. In fact, for the war as well. He warned that he was prepared to impose heavy tariffs on Russia if it refused to end the Ukraine war. That's the warning issued to Russia from the UNGA. He also slammed the UN. He said, these are the two things I got from the UN, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Meanwhile, also another key statement made by the US president was against illegal immigration. He said the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration was removed, and I made sure the criminals who entered our country were sent back. Now let's tell you about what were the top 10 statements made by Donald Trump at the UNGA. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing Ukraine war. This is what Trump said in context of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. He went on to say, if we can quickly go to the next slide, please. If Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the US is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs. He also made the statement in context of that Russia-Ukraine conflict. Meanwhile, on the Israel and Hamas war, he said, as if to encourage continued conflict, some in this body are seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. Another big statement being made by Trump, this time, of course, in context of the Gaza conflict. Meanwhile, also on the issue of the Israel-Hamas war, President Trump said, instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Now, if we take you through his big statement on climate change. Well, Trump went ahead and said climate change is the greatest con job. Everybody is doing it because they want to be politically correct. So that's what the US president said in context of climate change. Now let's tell you about what he said on Europe. He said it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. That was his advice to Europe. Meanwhile, he also said, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor and it's been changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. He said this in context of the UK and the protests there. Meanwhile, going ahead and talking about Europe once again, President Trump said Europe is in serious trouble. They have been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. On the Nobel Peace Prize, President Trump said, in a period of just 7 months, I've ended 7 UN endable wars. No president or prime minister, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And on the issue of Venezuela, President Trump going ahead and making this statement, he said, to every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the US. Please be warned, we will blow you out of existence. Another big assertion that President Trump made from the UNGA. So those, of course, were some of the big takeaways of his address there. In fact, joining us to look at this story in greater detail now is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat. Ambassador Sachdev, a big statement being made by the United States President. What do you make of what he said in context, of course, of these issues regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the Israel-Hamas war? Also, of course, critiquing Europe, talking about climate change. What stood out for you in his address? What did you make of it?
Thank you for having me. It was quite an interesting 56-minute talk aimed not at those delegates apparently in the room, but to his MAGA audience. The two words that beautifully describe it is taken from his own book called Art of the Deal, where he has exonerated himself for using truthful hyperboles. Much of it was not even hyperbolic. It was simply wrong and factually incorrect. Take all sort of things, including stopping India-Pakistan war. If at the rate that he claims to be going in 7 months, 7 wars, well, by the time his term ends, the peace would descend forever on the world. That is not the case. Secondly, about Ukraine, he's frustrated. That was quite clear from his speech. About Gaza, he has his own frustrations for not being able to stop the wars, for which he would like to take credit as Nobel Peace Committee meets and decides next month. Now, in a granular fashion, if you take it, the Ukraine war gave him a chance to find people to blame except himself.
Yes.
He didn't mention the Alaska meeting that he had with Putin, raising all sort of hope. He didn't mention his spat with Zelensky and then subsequent kissing and making up. He wants to blame India and China for allegedly fueling the war. He wants to blame Europe.
Absolutely. He wants, it seems, to blame everyone else but the United States. He's called out everyone's hypocrisy, but not looked inwards at the US at all. Sanjeev Srivastava, foreign affairs expert, let me quickly draw you in here on what you made of Donald Trump's worldview as espoused by him through this UNGA address.
Well, Uday, very good morning to you. Good morning to all the viewers. Uday, this is yet another, unpredictable, unconventional show of President Donald Trump, what he did last night. And obviously, this was yet another example of how uncertain and a kind of uncharted territory the international community is in because of a very unpredictable leadership of the United States of America at this point of time. And I think the roller coaster ride of the entire international community with regard to their dealing with the United States of America will continue, because we will see this kind of unpredictable behavior from United States of American president and his administration quite continuously during in his entire tenure, I believe. And for that to do, I think with regard to India, I would like to say that we will have to keep all our options open, and whatever comes up from the US side, whatever the unpredictable behavior he shows, accordingly we will have to keep all options open. And that's what India is doing. That's what international community will also do. But obviously, those assertions what he made in his UNGA speech were many of those assertions were factually incorrect. Obviously, India-Pakistan conflict and any outstanding issues between India and Pakistan can only be resolved bilaterally. There is no scope for any third-party mediation. But yet again, he is claiming that he did
Yes.
make this ceasefire. Obviously, it's incorrect assertion, and which India would never accept it. And similarly, a lot of other things. For example, on the
Okay,
issue of
so a lot of his
distance
speech required fact checking, is what you're clearly saying. Manan Dwivedi, foreign affairs expert, also with us live. Manan, what stood out for you? What was the focus area according to you, and what do you make of the reactions, which are pretty divided on Trump's address? Of course, his supporters are enthusiastic that he's decided to take on the global agendas and order, but his critics, of course, very upset with what he said.
I personally feel that a lot of things have already been said about it. Hyperbole, verbiage, and loud speak and grandstanding. That is all we have learned to associate President Donald Trump with. So once again, he was addressing his MAGA audience, and he was doing it very clinically in his stereotypical and quintessential style. But he also mentioned two people. As you had mentioned earlier, the teleprompter, and he very dramatically and melodramatically, using that kind of a Deus ex machina on the granite flooring of the UNGA, he said that the teleprompter is in for big trouble because there is something wrong with the translation process in the UNGA. Then he used a term for Keith Starmer, who is the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, and therein he went on to say that this person is a terrible man and he has a lot of ill waiting for him. So I personally feel that a lot of verbiage, dramatics, and larger than life or persona-like language is something which Trump did. Now, as far as the issues are concerned, I'll come to them. He directly once again seems to be deepening the transatlantic divide, as we used to call it around 20 years back. Britain, France, Germany, they all have people who are staying in America. Migration is the issue I'm talking about. But, with the kind of bullying and arm twisting activities and verbiage that he has often utilized, even United Kingdom has been declared as a den of Sharia law and as a place where radicalization is taking place, which might be true. Apart from that, he talked about migration, he talked about climate change, and he talked about being involved into stopping 7 wars. So I think it was a very self-congratulatory speech, which came from the heady portals of the granite rostrum of United Nations General Assembly.
Yes, but
I
did
think
we get a roadmap of how to, he may have made these boastful claims, Ambassador Sachdev, but did we get a roadmap of how to end the Gaza conflict or the Russia-Ukraine one?
Well, there was no roadmap, except in a simplistic manner. He would have liked us to all get the hostages released. And later, when he met President Zelensky, he seemed to have found him strong enough to defeat Russia and retake all the land that he has lost. Now, where is the ceasefire? Where is the peace deal being talked about? What is the future of Gaza? Is not mentioned. And therefore, these solutions are almost impractical and one-sided. So one has doubts about his narrative and the nuances that he's not showing. Thank you.